Hello my friends, welcome to Reddit Rabbit. Before we start, catch the rabbit at the bottom right corner, smash that subscribe button and leave a comment. r/AskReddit. Bill Gates said, I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. What's a real life example of this? I plug clocks in at midnight so they're already set. Trip the main fuse in the house at midnight to do all the appliances too, lol. The real life hack is always in the comments. Same. My granddad puts a battery in a stopped clock and at the exact time it stopped so he doesn't have to tweak it. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10-15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there, all while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. I've worked a few places that have people doing this. Usually when they retire, the job is given to some younger person that figures out how to do it in 10 minutes on top of the rest of their normal job. In this case, since the retiring person worked full-time doing this and often struggled to meet deadlines, they hired a replacement. My girlfriend works for an insurance company and basically spent months working on spreadsheets to compile quarterly vendor claims for the last 10 years, each quarter with thousands of rows. I just finished my Ms. in analytics. I spent a few hours with her asking exactly what she needed to do, wrote 3 lines of code in SQLite and basically saved her months of work. Now when she has to work in these projects, she runs the program and that's that. I was pretty proud of that. I work in insurance. I'm currently on Reddit because I've finished my work for the day. It's 1 PM. I started at 11 and am done at 7 PM. I'm bored already. This is actually my job. I work for a local government entering new, renewed, existing and disposal of our assets. Primarily roads and stormwater. Essentially anything that is near a road that the local government has to maintain. The old guy who left, at 72 years old, legit wrote everything down before punching it into Excel to be converted into our financial database. When I started, I was shown how the job worked and I asked, did I have to write stuff down? My boss said no, that was just his old school way of doing it. So instead I immediately entered data into Excel, skipping how long-winded first process and cut the job time down significantly. Due to this I got more duties and responsibilities. But it came with a raise. So I guess that's a 50-50 win. I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive. We'd open them and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. Saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff and staff at other sites. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient. Thanos balanced meme JPG. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient. Ron Swanson has entered the chat. Given the choice of doing something and doing nothing, I will always choose doing nothing. Unless doing something helps someone else do nothing. I would work all day if it meant nothing got done. Ron Swanson. I was invited to my friend's yearly apple picking. It was a full day of apples and kids and filling a truck for cider. I'm lazy and suggested we make the process more efficient with tarps on the ground. We managed in 2 hours what historically took all day. We didn't even get to the picnic lunch. Essentially, I ruined apple picking. IG. What did the tarp do to save time? I'm guessing that they were shaking the trees, then picking up the apples that fell. So with the tarp down, all they had to do was grab the corners and pour into a container. Basically how you harvest olives. I knew a guy who had a low-level data reporting job. He had several daily, weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay. But damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload, on top of maintaining those macros, etc. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. I know a guy who did this, but he revealed it. The company shared the macros with all the employees. It made everyone's life easier, but they also got an increased workload. The company made a lot more money, and this guy made none of it. He didn't even get promoted. That's why I haven't said a word. The secret is shameless self-promotion. Use secret scripts and automation. But instead of telling everyone else how awesome your scripts are and how well automated everything is, use the output, work, from those and tell everyone how good you are at these tasks and reports and how well you've got it handled. Years ago as a student I got a job stocking shelves. Guys were carrying the heavy boxes, put them on the floor and bend each time to pick up the items to put on the shelves. I was maybe a light 100 pounds woman, and carrying the boxes was just killing me physically. So one day I had an idea. I put the box on an old desk chair and rolled it around. No more carrying and no more bending. Funny thing is that, instead of doing the same thing, most of the guys called me lazy and kept carrying the heavy boxes, just to prove how strong they were. Now they have special rolling carts to do the job. Screw lazy, screw strong. I would have copied you without a second thought. Hell yeah, you don't get bonus pay for having an aching back. Whoa, that's ridiculous. A waist-high utility cart is like the #1 ergonomics requirement for moving anything at an indoor job site. I'm doing it right now. Automated data cleaning in Python. My coworkers don't know about it, so something that takes me 10 minutes at most takes them 2 hours. My coding mentor got hired in a US government position and he mentioned being able to automate a lot of tasks in his interview. After the interview was over he was contacted by one of the people that were in on the interview and said basically, look, we get paid such and such a year and only work such and such hours. Do the automation. But don't say you are doing the automation. Dream come true. My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. I tried doing that as a kid and got a slap on the back of the head. It was just my dad and I. We both hated doing the dishes, so they would stockpile. It got to the point where he offered to pay me $20 just to do them. Before I got around to it, we went down the road to my aunt's. I ended up offering my cousin $10 if he would come over and do the dishes. He accepted. I wasn't allowed to do that again. Outsourcing and child labor? This kid's destined to be a Nike CEO one day. Nephew it, tick. Go to start young. Nestle has entered the chat. Now all he needs is to undercut his employee. Scare him straight by telling him the kid down the block will do it for cheaper. In this quarter the numbers are lower than expected, so take the pay decrease or leave. An engineer spent hours developing a program so they could start the coffee pot from their desk and not have to wait for coffee when arriving in the break room. That's pretty much how the first webcam was created too. Lazy computer engineers wanted to see if there was coffee in the pot. Every year in the Canadian winter, power lines would fail due to the weight of the snow. It took many days to build up enough to break a line, so they employed a team to walk the routes and shake the poles to loosen the snow. One day they saw a bear shaking the poles and realized that if they could get the bear to do it, they wouldn't need to walk the route. So they gave one guy a bucket of honey and he'd walk the route, painting the sides of the poles with honey to attract the bears. It worked for a few more years, but this still takes a lot of time to do. So then they had the idea of flying a helicopter along the route with a trained sniper with honey paintballs that he'd shoot the poles with. On its maiden flight, the helicopter passed the lines and the downdraft blew away all of the snow. The flights continue to this day, but without the sniper.